Broadcasting through two megaphones from the abandoned Long John Silver's behind the abandoned Pizza Hut on Center Avenue in Bay City, Michigan, it's Everything, Anything, and Nothing Really, with your hosts Eric Walensky and Matthew Maynard. Hey folks, how's it going out there? My name's Eric.
My name's Matt.
And how the heck are you, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Been keeping myself busy.
Yeah?
I had a Seinfeld moment today. You remember Seinfeld?
Oh, yes. Yes, I remember Seinfeld. I'm old enough.
Yep, we watched the finale of Seinfeld together.
Did we?
Yep, over at Matt's.
I wasn't there.
Well, this went nowhere.
I'm just thinking, I'm like, no, I wasn't there.
Really?
May 14th, 1998, look it up. No, I wasn't there.
Look up where you were?
I can prove it, but I wasn't there. No, we were not in the same place that day.
Oh, I swore you were there. We had a little watch party.
Well, I wasn't at the watch party.
Oh.
I didn't wear a watch back then.
I'm sorry. I guess I should retroactively apologize for not inviting you. I would have assumed you were.
This podcast is over.
Oh.
I thought I was invited to that party.
You know, you could have been. I don't remember. I thought it was just a free-for-all.
I was never invited to any free-for-alls either. I'm a little ticked about that, too.
Anyway, I had a Seinfeld moment today. One of those odd encounters where you feel someone has violated an unwritten social norm.
What happened?
I was biking across the Independence Bridge in Bay City here, the fourth bridge as I refer to it. I count them from south to north.
For those playing along at home, check your maps. If you're not from Bay City, this will be very, very interesting to you to place where Independence Bridge is.
Yes, for those of you at home, draw a river, draw 4 bridges across it. I was going over the northernmost bridge. But yeah, like we talked about with this whole pandemic, lots of people out exercising now. The trails are getting jammed up. And as I'm crossing the bridge, this guy was walking towards me. And I didn't want to get real close to him, but we're on the bridge. And there really wasn't 6 feet of distance, so there was a little cutout. And he was a ways down the bridge. I mean, not so far that it was unreasonable for me to be cautious. So I pulled into the little cutout, and he just kept walking towards me.
Mm-hmm.
At the same pace. Well, I expected a little bit of a courtesy hustle, you know? Like, he can see that I'm waiting for him, and
not really running, but making it look like it, right?
Exactly. Like a little pep in the step, you know?
Pep in the step, yes.
So I'm waiting, and he just walks right on by me, and I couldn't help myself. I just smiled and said, "What, no pep?" So this guy just, he did a little skip, and he goes, "Is that better?" And I just laughed, and I said, "Sure." I didn't want to confront the guy, but I just felt like I needed to say something. He's wasting my time trying to exercise, you know?
Right.
Like it's courtesy, you know, when you come out of a Myers or a grocery store or something, and you start to cross, and there's no real rule for like who's supposed to go, and you see a car wait for you, you swing your arms a little bit, or you go up on your tippy toe and kind of hop. Right. You know, you don't really actually move faster, you just make it look like you're trying to move faster.
Right, it's like an acknowledgement that yes, I am taking up your time.
Exactly. So
the pep in the step.
Well, it's common courtesy, that's all.
Yeah.
You ever have a Seinfeld moment?
Never.
Never? That's funny.
I can't think of anything. I mean,
that's your Seinfeld moment. Talking about how you've never had a Seinfeld moment.
I do have one Seinfeld thing. This is about 5 years ago, and where I was living, I was going past a high school, and there was a big sign out front that said, such and such a date, Seinfeld and the Munsters. And I thought, what is this? Well, it turns out, instead of doing a play, they just ripped off an episode of Seinfeld and an episode of the Munsters, and that's what they did for their high school play. So they did the Soup Nazi play. These are high school
They did
students.
the Soup Nazi play with Herman Munster?
Herman, no soup for you. And no, they did that episode of Seinfeld, and then they did an episode of the Munsters, and it was terrible. It was dreadful, and nowhere in the program did it credit the writers of any of these TV shows. There was no indication they had paid any royalties or got any permissions. They just ripped off what they saw on TV and did it for a play. And it was so embarrassing, and obviously these people, I don't think they had ever seen these shows, and of course the timing and everything is just, it's not the same watching high schoolers do this, and I was so embarrassed by it. Then on the way out of the building, some of the cast members were standing by the door waiting to greet people, and
the reception line.
Yeah, and I just had to get out of there in a hurry because I didn't want to even talk to the Munsters. Couldn't even be polite and be like, yeah, very good job. I couldn't. It was just, I couldn't even do that for high school kids. It was just really like, oh, no, just, I've got an emergency. I got to get out of here.
But here's the thing, Matt. It worked. It got you in there.
It did, I guess. Well, I wanted to see what was going on, because, I mean, you see a sign out in front of a school that says Seinfeld and the Munsters. What is this?
Exactly. And honestly, probably take away all the parents that were there. Everybody else who walked in there was probably thinking the same thing. What is this?
Exactly.
There were like 50 people going out the emergency exit to avoid the reception line.
Nobody wanted to face Grandpa Munster that night.
You guys are all out in the parking lot. You all agreed the guy who played Kramer was okay, but it wasn't worth having to go by the Jerry or the George.
Oh, yeah, it was bad.
So, yeah, that's what I've been up to. I've also been going through my filing cabinet. I got stacks and stacks of old notes. I still have a whole bunch of old notes of things when we left off our podcast that we never got to.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this one story. It's actually Liz wrote this story in 5th grade. She was 10 years.
Your wife, Liz?
Yes, Liz wrote this story. She was 10 years old, 5th grade. And she showed me this story a long time ago when she was going through old notes and stuff. And she goes, oh, here's a funny story. And I read it, and I thought it was the best. And so I saved it, and I put it in the old notes, and I found it again. And I think this is a great time to read Liz's story.
I would love to hear what kind of writer Liz was.
Well, we're all going to get to decide for ourselves here. The story is untitled.
Okay.
Maybe when it's done, we'll title it. This is 5th grade Liz, 10 years old. Once upon a time in a beautiful forest, there lived a princess who wasn't like the others. She had something special about her. She was 16 and lived in a palace with her mother and father, and she loved them very much. They were very protective of her. She never was able to go outside and play with the other children or leave the palace. Of course, she never worried about playing with the other children because she had no legs. Twist!
She was.
We're all picturing one thing here. and now suddenly, I'm going to give everyone a moment to reframe
Boy,
what they were
that was a
picturing.
surprise. She's like the master of suspense. Wow, there's so much. That was a twist I did not see coming.
Oh, man. If people didn't put their seatbelts on yet, you might want to, because here's where the ride starts. Her mother died at birth, and she had a new mother.
Okay. I shouldn't be laughing at this, but just the way it's... I don't know.
Her parents had a special pair of crutches made for her so she could move around the palace.
Okay.
I guess this kingdom didn't have chairs. It doesn't say they're magic crutches. They're special, but...
Special crutches.
One day she became very sad and lonesome. She was crying out her bedroom window when she heard a voice say, "What are you crying for, dear?" She was very surprised at seeing a horse standing below her window talking.
Liz watched too much Mr. Ed as a child or something.
Not a lot of details about the horse yet, except I'm going to infer that he's kind of impatient because the next line is, "Well," the horse said. So this horse is walking through the woods. Here's this girl crying. He's all sympathetic and caring. "Why are you crying for, dear?" "Well," "get on with it."
Oh my goodness.
Well, the princess finally replies, "I am sad because my parents will not let me go outside to see the marvelous things the world has because I have no legs," the princess said. "Come with me," the horse said. "I will show you the world." Parents are very protective, but talking horses get right through security. At that point, the horse jumped up to her window and put her on his back.
I want to see how that was done.
Just then, the princess noticed the horse had one leg missing. I'm noticing a theme. I'm just wondering what inspired all of this. "How come you have a leg missing?" the princess asked. "It's a long story, dear princess. It's a long story," the horse said. Was it, though?
I mean,
This makes it sound like, oh, back in the 30s, I got in with a bad crowd. Now, you need to understand who I was running around with back then. Otherwise, me losing a leg makes no sense.
oh my. Now I'm really in suspense. I want to know what the story is, even if it is long.
Well, maybe we'll have her write a sequel.
Yeah.
The horse and the princess rode far off into the land. So they rode so far, but yet the horse, they didn't talk. The horse could have told her the story at this point. It went for long enough. "It's so beautiful," the princess said. The princess did not mind at all when the villagers made fun of her and the horse. What? So she's a very tolerant and accepting princess. She understands that the villagers aren't making fun of her, but they're making fun of the way they feel about themselves, and they're projecting it onto the legless princess and the three-legged horse. Very, very, very magnanimous of that princess to be so forgiving. She did not mind at all when the villagers made fun of her and the horse. One day the princess was riding, and she saw a man whom she fell in love with at first sight. "Who's that man?" she asked the horse. "I don't really know," he said. I'm not Google. I love that. She's asking the horse. The horse won't tell her how he lost a leg, but he's supposed to know everybody they come across. "I'm already in love with him," the princess said. "Why don't I take you to him?" the horse said. "I wonder if this guy can hear them talking." "I can't dare face him like this with no legs," she cried. "Oh, yes, you can," the horse said. "Just believe in who you are and be yourself." So the princess went to meet him at once. She found out his name was John, and he didn't care if she didn't have any legs as long as she was herself. So they both fell in love and got married. They had 2 children, and the whole family loved one another and lived happily ever after. The end.
Wow, that is a wonderful story.
It's very, very wonderful story. It's heartwarming. At first, I didn't think it had a leg to stand on, but
so many twists and turns in that.
I love it. I know. The first time I read it, and I'm just like, da, 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 because she had no legs? What? Where did that come from?
I think Liz really missed her calling. She needs to write children's books.
Oh my gosh. Maybe you could illustrate.
Yeah, I can draw a horse with 3 legs.
Wasn't that was a song by America, wasn't? I've been through the desert with a horse with 3 legs. No, a horse with no name.
Oh.
No, never mind. So that was one thing that I had found in my files.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, I love that one. I'm kind of glad that it did get saved all this time, because this is another. I get to laugh again almost 4 years later.
Yeah, and the world is laughing with us. Trying to picture a horse putting a princess on his back.
Just if you grab the mane and kind of swing and I'll pivot. I'll kind of pivot with the.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. I love that story. Oh, before I forget, I did something that I think is going to be a lot of fun for us.
Oh, yeah?
You know, we've been wanting to travel. Everybody's been wanting to travel, and it's been hard to do. And, of course, we can't really travel with the podcast right now, but we've got a travel correspondent.
Oh, that's right. You got that set up.
Yes, Mitch Gill, comedian extraordinaire of Mitch's Fake Radio, that's his podcast, has agreed to be our travel correspondent, and he will check in with us from time to time from wherever he is in the country or in the world, letting us know what it's like out there.
Yeah, because he managed to get that special government travel permit, I guess.
Yeah, and he's got about 20 different face masks.
Yes, International Man of Mystery, Mitch Gill.
Yes.
Well, cool. When are we going to get that started?
I think he's calling in right now. Here he is.
Hey, Mitch!
Hey guys,
Where are you calling us from, Mitch?
I'm riding the gravy train.
You mean things are going well for you, huh?
No, I'm on the gravy train. It's a train literally made out of gravy.
Why would there be a train like that? How would they even make a train like that?
Sorry, what? I wasn't listening. I was licking the walls.
Seriously, that thing is made out of gravy? Is this Amtrak?
More like Hamtrak.
How does that even work?
Wait, something's happening. We're going off into a sidetrack, which makes sense because gravy's a great side dish.
I'm confused. How does this train go?
It goes good. Goes good with almost anything.
No, I mean, how's it fueled?
With a saucepan of juices over medium heat. Same as your car.
That's not how my car goes.
Look, I'm not a mechanic or a train engineer. I just go where the gravy train takes me.
And where is it taking you?
Turkey, Texas.
Is that a real town?
Yes, and it's waiting for us with all the fixins'.
And where are you coming from?
Sandwich, Massachusetts, but we left a lot of drippings in between.
I can imagine that it does.
Oh, shoot, guys. The train's slowing down. We're in deep trouble. We're surrounded by dogs. You know, dogs, they love gravy. Oh, my God. I can't believe the engineer didn't think this one through. They're taking bites out of the caboose. Oh, shoot. I knew this would happen if we stopped in Kibbles and Bits, Kentucky.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Oh, thank goodness. They're distracted by the Purina chuck wagon. We're getting away.
Good for you, Mitch.
Hey, guys, gotta let you go. There's a lot of mashed potatoes on the tracks ahead.
Are they real potatoes?
I hope so, or I'll be crushed in an instant. See you guys at Thanksgiving.
Well, I certainly hope Mitch is okay.
Yeah, that was unique.
He's resourceful. He'll figure it out, I guess.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Well, what else have you got going on in your downtime?
Well, I've been playing some video games.
Oh, really?
You play any video games?
I don't play video games so much now, not that much really, but when I was younger, like, 5, 6, 7 years old, well, maybe even a little older than that, we had an old Atari game that an uncle had given us, and I was thinking about some of the games that we played on that, and
See, you're like me. You're an old school gamer. When I don't play the modern games. Too many buttons.
right, and the buttons were not. I mean, of course, back then they were just, it was confusing because things didn't work the way they were supposed to. Like we had this baseball game that, I don't know, it was very complicated. Like, you know, to make the left fielder move, you had to press a button, move the joystick up twice and to the right once or something. And then for the center fielder, it was twice up, once down, once to the right. You know, it was very complicated, and I could never get it right.
I played that game.
Yeah, so somebody would hit a ball to left field, and my catcher would have to go get it.
Yes!
and carry it back.
Yes! On the off chance the outfielder actually caught it, my catcher would have to run out there and get it. Otherwise, the left fielder and the center fielder would just play catch.
Right. Yeah, it was a really difficult game. I talked to my brother, and we were talking about Atari Games, and he said the football game was good, except if you pressed the wrong button, they'd kick instead of pass. So
I played that one too. Yes.
So just like in a real football game, when you think they're going out for a pass, all of a sudden, I'm kicking it. So.
Surprise!
And he said, we talked about Frogger a little bit. He said Frogger, his take on Frogger was fun for a minute, and then it was like, no, I'm not crossing this road. I'm turning this off.
I like the older games, but there's definitely a shelf life to how long you could actually play it.
Well, like he said about Pitfall 2, he said all you did was duck under bats, and you never really died. You just started over again. So if you like ducking under bats, that was the video game for you. One I remember, and I had to look it up because I didn't remember much about it, and it was a game called Lost Luggage.
Okay.
It was an Atari game. Do you remember that one?
I do not.
Okay, so the object is the player controls sky caps working at an airport, and it's good already.
You had me. You had me from the get-go. As soon as you said Skycap.
And tries to collect pieces of luggage that fall overhead from a frantic luggage carousel. Now, as a kid, maybe the graphics were bad. I didn't realize that was what the game was. But
what did you think it was?
I thought we were catching them. I thought like they were throwing them out of a plane and we were supposed to catch them or something. But I didn't know. Anyway.
The modern game is it's called TSA Panic.
Well, apparently, I looked it up on Wikipedia. Apparently, they had a terrorist mode of the game, which I don't remember that at all.
What? Okay.
Yeah, and so
what did you do in that mode?
I have no idea. I couldn't find any more about it. But
is it like I said? Is it the TSA Panic part of the game where you're scanning suitcases for bombs?
I really don't know. Could be. I have no idea. Maybe
I can't imagine what other thing you would do in terrorist mode.
Maybe that meant something different in the 80s. I don't know.
I don't know.
There was also a game called E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Do you remember this game?
Yes, that I do remember. Yes.
Okay. Did you ever play it?
Oh, yeah. It was super hard and complicated.
Okay, because I looked it up, and the objective of the game, well, I guess it's cited as one of the worst video games of all time.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
And it's a collector's item.
Yes. That I didn't know about. And yeah, they apparently took like all the games, put them in a landfill in New Mexico.
Yep.
Covered it with cement.
Yep.
And then in 2014, people were hired to investigate
Yes.
the claim that this landfill was filled with it, and they found like 728,000 cartridges of various games, according to the Associated
Yep.
Press.
There's a documentary all about it. And they follow the clues to like what part of the landfill it might have been buried in, and they find scraps at first, and yeah, ultimately they do find some video games.
Wow. Yeah, and apparently the objective of the game is to guide E.T. through various screens to collect 3 pieces of an interplanetary telephone that will allow him to contact his home planet. So, finding telephone pieces, that was a video game in the 1980s.
It was. Yep. They had to rush it out because they wanted it out by Christmas.
I do not remember playing that.
Yeah, it was so insanely hard. And it made no sense. Like, if you didn't know that you were an airport baggage handler, you had no idea what you were doing in the E.T. game.
There was also a Smurf game. Did you know about that one?
I have not played the Smurf game. I haven't heard about that one.
It was called Smurf Rescue in Gargamel's Castle.
Okay.
The premise is Gargamel has kidnapped Smurfette. As a Smurf, the player has to walk from the Smurf village through a forest and a cave on the way to Gargamel's castle, where Smurfette awaits rescue.
Mm-hmm.
The player has an energy bar that slowly depletes over time. So, in the reviews of it, it said reviewers also caution players to, quote, prepare for frustration until they learned how to accurately judge leaps, which that's been my story of aging.
I was going to say, isn't that just life?
Once I hit 40...
Better get that leap right.
Right.
I don't remember the Smurfs having to leap. I don't remember them being particularly good leapers.
It's not what they were known for. There probably was one Smurf that was a good leaper. It was like Leaper Smurf or something like that.
Except everybody kept misspelling his name, and it said Leper Smurf. And nobody wanted to talk to him.
There's one other game I ran across that I do not remember, but I'm very intrigued by, and it was a game called Tooth Protectors.
Tooth what?
Protectors.
Tooth protectors.
Tooth Protectors.
Okay.
The objects are small snack squares dropped by the Snack Attack, a menacing-looking face that moves horizontally along the top of the screen. Player's character is a small smiling face carrying a strand of dental floss above its head. The players must prevent the snack squares from reaching the row of white teeth along the bottom of the screen. Repeated hits by the snacks cause the teeth to blink and disappear from tooth decay.
Wow.
Occasionally, the snack attacker will dive from the top of the screen in an attempt to grab the player. The player loses a turn if the snack attacker succeeds.
What? So now this guy goes from destroying teeth to kidnapping children?
If teeth begin to decay, the player can press the joystick's fire button to call in the tooth protectors, an orange toothbrush, green box of dental floss, and purple dental rinse bottle move across the teeth, brushing, flossing, and rinsing them. The game was never given a traditional release, but was instead available exclusively to Johnson & Johnson customers who mailed in a proof of purchase stamp to the company.
There it is. Yep. File this under failed marketing attempts as well. Wow, that's crazy. And I'm picturing all of that in like the old school, 2 and 4-bit graphics.
Right. Yeah, and which like 30 years later you're like, "Wait a minute, those were supposed to be teeth?"
Yeah, right. I thought this was called Piano Tuner. Well, it's not just old games, Matt, that were strange and bizarre. I mean, even as video games have evolved, a lot of things are, they're kind of taking those old 2 and 4-bit and 8-bit concepts and they're turning them into virtual simulators now. I found an article talked about some very strange video games that you wouldn't believe exist, but these are all real games.
Okay.
There's the first one, like right away. This tells you what you're dealing with when the article starts off with Goat Simulator.
Okay.
One review for this said you're better off spending $10 on a hula hoop, a pile of bricks, or a real goat. That's how good this game is. And it's exactly like it sounds. You're a goat. You run around a town exploring. You use your tongue to grapple poles and fences and swing yourself around. You use
now, what if it's a three-legged goat?
I don't know if you get to customize your avatar or not.
You get to save princesses and...
Yes, you have your horns for ramming humans. You have extreme jumping abilities. Better than a Smurf, apparently. You're aided by trampolines. And, yeah, you just run around the town being a goat. It's for everyone who ever wondered, before I become a goat, I should probably try this out.
Every person's dream.
Going kind of along with that, there's a farming simulator.
Okay.
You have to get up at 4 a.m. to get ready for this game. It does. It couples very well with the Goat Simulator. There's actually a plug-in where you're the farmer and your buddy can be the goat. and you can work at cross purposes. But no, there's a real game. It's kind of along the same lines as flight simulators. But yeah, there's a farming simulator.
Boy, I guess those video games are for people who just think that hoeing beans on a 98-degree day is where the fun's at, and just can't get enough of being in a stuffy barn throwing hay bales around when it's 100% humidity. So,
manure bonus. You got to clean up after the horses.
Right. Oh, no, I don't think that's something you want to simulate there.
There's two more games. There's Tokyo Jungle and Mr. Mosquito. Again, simulators where you get to be animals. Tokyo Jungle, you start out as a Pomeranian.
As you do.
Yeah, and the game forces you to explore, find food, set up a place to live, and mate. As you progress through the game, you gain experience and can unlock different animals that might be a bit more threatening than the Pomeranian. And through perilous journeys and generations, you get to explore downtown Tokyo.
Do I have to do it as a Pomeranian, though?
Well, exactly. I'm curious about this mating. It seems odd. It also seems like a weird way to explore downtown Tokyo, you know? Like, let's just maybe get a travel log or something. And then Mr. Mosquito, you get to be a mosquito.
And you get to mate with other mosquitoes.
Yes! On the farm. In the old tires behind the barn that are filled with water.
Manure.
Exactly.
And then you go to the table where they're having a graduation party.
In this game, you terrorize a Japanese household, waiting for the right moment to strike and steal their blood. If the right moment doesn't present itself, sometimes you have to create distractions, like flying into a light switch to turn the lights off. Because I know mosquitoes around here are always turning the lights off on me.
What kind of mosquitoes do they have in Japan that can turn lights out?
The mosquitoes are always changing the channel on me, too. I'm like, what happened? And then, bat, they bite me.
I'm not going to Tokyo if mosquitoes are like that.
Oh, man.
I'd rather be a Pomeranian.
This game is probably my favorite title. Icarus Proudbottom in the Curse of the Chocolate Fountain.
Icarus Proudbottom.
Now, initially, it sounds like, ooh, that's interesting, the Curse of the Chocolate Fountain. Well, the story of Icarus Proudbottom follows a young man who is cursed into constantly defecating, and at such a fast rate that it sends him flying around the world and even into space.
Who needs an airline?
Exactly. So the Curse of the Chocolate Fountain is apparently him crapping his pants, sending him on adventures. Along the way, you meet an owl that becomes your spirit animal, and you fight countless enemies, including President Barack Obama. The best line in this review, though this is easily one of the crazier concepts for a game. No kidding! There's 2 sequels to it, though. Icarus Proudbottom teaches typing? He's like excusing himself every 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. Remember, keep your fingers on the home keys, kids. Excuse me. And then there's Icarus Proudbottom Starship Captain. The last guy I want to be stuck on a starship with is a guy who is constantly crapping himself. Well, I know one thing. I wouldn't want to be playing Icarus Proudbottom right now. There's no toilet paper.
Yeah. That would be a video game in itself. Try to find the toilet paper in your local store.
Icarus Proudbottom and the Pandemic of Doom. Well, that's a good place to wrap the podcast up, I think, Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to go and read Liz's story again.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I heard the first time.
Write your own sequel to that. A choose your own adventure.
Hey, we should just keep that going. We could do that week after week, you know.
I'll have to see what other stuff I can dig up. So for all you folks out there in listener land, remember to like us on Facebook, find us on iTunes, tell your friends about us, tell your enemies.
Don't tell our enemies.
No. Leave those guys out of it. So, for everything, anything, and nothing really, I'm Eric.
And I'm Matt.
And we'll see y'all next week. What are you crying for, dear? Well?
It's a long story, Horse. It's a long story.